All right, we are recording. Hopefully this isn't loud. I don't know if it's picking up on the mic, but my next door neighbor is like literally right outside my window, in his backyard cutting wood. Is that a thing? Can you guys hear that?
I don't hear anything.
All right, good. Because I was just saying, I'll move if I have to. But yeah, from my perspective, it's really loud. I'm glad it's not picking up. Okay, cool. So let's talk about what's happening this week. There's a lot to dig into. So we are in week 14. And traditionally there's three things that I like to go over during week 14, which in and of themselves are all really very basic elements to talk about. Normally I don't necessarily go through three things, but they're all fairly easy to discuss. In addition, we've got the homepage and one of your sub pages to look at in terms of populated pages. We'll spend the bulk of our time with that. But I do want to point out a few resources that are in place first. I did make a couple of walkthroughs that will really help you guys out. The first one discusses the uses of background images with CSS. So like Chaz, for yourself, there is the last thing I do in it is I talk about inserting a large background image inside of the wrapper, which will help aid you in that. If I remember correctly, it was sort of a yellow and blue, like diagonal, kind of a design that you had. But I also talk about using background images in a few ways. I talk about using them across the entire website, like in the body of the website. I also talk about using backgrounds inside of individual divs, as well as big ones inside of the wrapper. It's a relatively short walkthrough. I know it's less than 10 minutes where I talk about all three of those things. I then also talk about overlapping navigation on the hero banner. You guys might recall last class, I want to say, I think it was Catherine Escobar who had on her, she wanted over the hero banner, she wanted her navigation to overlap that. And I started coding that and I ran into an issue. The code was actually really good for the most part that I wrote. The issue that I ran into is that the image that was placed in the hero banner, in order for that technique to work, has to be placed as a background image as well. So this walkthrough kind of piggybacks on some of the topics I talk about in the background images in CSS. But it also addresses a few other issues. For example, once you start to get the navigation to come up over the hero banner, it's going to pull along with it the content underneath it. So I talk about how to fix that as well. In addition to that, I also talk about doing a semi-transparent background color on top of the navigation in there. So that's a good one as well. These are both fairly short. They're about 10 minutes each, but I wanted to break them up into separate ones in case there was just one specifically that you wanted to watch. So those are just uploaded to YouTube yesterday. In addition to that, there are additional resources here. If we have enough time after the critique today, I plan on showing you guys how to embed video into an HTML file, how to embed a Google map into HTML, and I'd like to do a lecture on web forms with you guys as well today. The lecture we should have enough time for. Whether or not we have enough time for either of these things, we'll see. Honestly, they take literally a few minutes to do each, so we'll likely have time for those. But in the event that we just run out of time today to do that, I did put 2 video tutorials on how to do these two things. And again, it's a very, very easy thing to do. Embedding video from a source like YouTube or Vimeo, or embedding a map from Google, super, super easy to do. Probably the easiest thing you'll do probably all semester in this class would be one of those 2 things. In addition, kind of backing up the lecture that I'm going to do on making forms, there are a number of resources that I posted here as well. Here's a link to the W3 Schools HTML forms walkthrough. This is another walkthrough that talks about styling those forms, because unstyled web forms, they're not pretty. They look like the web looked 20 years ago, potentially. But there's some wonderful things that you can do for styling forms. And the really cool thing about this is when it comes to styling a form, it uses all of the styles you guys have used already. So things like background colors, borders, padding, margin. all very, very straightforward and easy to do and accomplish. Within these, you'll also see how buttons are created as well. Buttons will, I'll actually do a formal walkthrough for those of you guys who are wanting to do buttons like under call to actions or things like that. That'll be the last formal like video walkthrough that I'll make for you guys. I'll have that ready for you folks next week. In addition, I want to point out there is a wonderful article here called from a website called Pure CSS, which is a wonderful, like just a killer website in terms of talking about web really from a very design centric place. Lots of like just pure CSS. I didn't even mean that that pun, but literally pure cascading style sheet examples that talk about just wonderful ways to like style forms and things to think about. Lastly, for more complex forms like that have lots of form fields and lots of information, those can be built for free on a website called JotForm. And it's kind of cool. It's very much a very easy designer friendly site where you can go and kind of drag and drop and pick the options that you would want in a more complex form. And then what you can do is generate code for that form. So then you would just like literally copy and paste the code from the JotForm website into your own HTML. It's free to use, although they do require that you sign up for their site using an email address. So if you wanted to do that, you could always use your school email. But they don't send out lots of junk mail. I've been using JotForm for probably 2 decades now. And it's a wonderful site for helping to build more complex forms. So and you are allowed to use that for this project if you'd like. I'd say probably half the students that take this class through the years have used the JotForm generator to make their forms. I've got no problem at all with you doing that for this project, and even potentially using it, professionally on websites that you might build beyond this class. So a lot of resources in place to help you with getting the final tweaks in terms of content on your site. And again, if we have some time after our critique, which we probably will, we've had time these last several weeks. So I do anticipate us being able to talk about at least the video and the Google Maps. I would then love to potentially open it up for questions as well. In fact, maybe we'll do questions first, because I think that's going to be a little bit more relevant. Again, these, as much as I do like to do those demos because they're so quick and easy, worst case, if you have to, again, you can always watch the video tutorials that I posted here that are short and to the point. Okay. So with that, why don't we dig into part 7 of your project, which was building 2 populated pages, the home page and then one of your sub pages. So let's see here. We'll go ahead and start downloading and we'll give these a look. As we are looking at these, if there are any issues that you have had, while I'm looking at your root folder, please, feel free to turn on your audio, ask questions. It's all good. If I have the opportunity to show you how to fix things in class today, we'll do that. If not, I'll do what I did last week, where there were a couple of things that I wanted to build walkthroughs for, and we'll go about it that way. All right, let's see. So Jose, let's take a look at where you're at with things. I'm going to start with the index page, and then Jose, you can tell me which of the other sub pages you have got ready to go at this point. Cool, looks good. All right, I'm going to zoom out slightly on the browser here. Just to here, let's see. Let me just.
So I don't think I caught the home page and one page. I kind of worked on almost all of them except the context.
Okay. Cool. No worries, Jose. That's not a bad thing to be ahead of the game. Okay. Cool. Looking at the home page here, things are looking good. So let's see here. Jose, right now, are these actual buttons or are they just divs with rounded corners?
No, they're just background images at the moment.
Oh, okay, no problem. Because I was going to say, like I mentioned a few moments ago, I will do a demo for you guys on building buttons. I'll record that and post that for you guys. For now, it's completely fine. But ultimately, the reason why I asked is I was going to say, if they are buttons, we're going to want to address the way that the text is aligned.
Yeah.
Well, so if that's just temporary for now, no worries. We're all good. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. just I only have like two like main issues. It's just that I was trying to get the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter images
Mhm.
down here. I don't know why it didn't move.
Gotcha.
So
Okay, we can take a look at that.
and
Do you want those below the like? in the-
yeah, I wanted it in the middle and below, and I tried
Okay.
making like a separate class, separate div, all that
Cool.
stuff. And it's just
Okay.
like kept lining up there. I don't know why.
Okay.
And the
No
second
worries.
one is I don't know why the text starts off at that level. Like it looks like it's one line below. So I don't know what happened there.
So for what area are we talking?
For the text.
For the text right here, or
For the text in the next to the pictures.
okay, cool. So you're wanting that potentially to line up with the images. directly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll take a look at that. You know, in terms of suggestions here for you, I would recommend really just adding a little bit of top padding and bottom padding to the container right here. Just a bit. I mean, I feel like if you want it to be more slim, that's cool, but we are getting to the point where your descenders, like on the P here or the G, they're actually touching, they kind of look like they're touching the area underneath. So just a little bit, I mean, it could be 10 pixel padding on the bottom, probably 10 pixel padding on the top as well there. And then
Okay.
again, we'll obviously we'll get the buttons in place, and we'll take a look then at what's happening with your text alignment there as well, and these buttons, the social buttons. Let me just take a quick look here at the rest. I remember your designs being really cool. I do like how this is alternating in terms of left or right. Good, that looks good. Cool. And I'm guessing most of these pages will be very similar. Yep, cool. So once we fix the text on one of these, you should be good to go for all of the rest. Cool, okay, double buttons there. It might be something you may want to consider on the double buttons is maybe having the double buttons aligned next to each other. And again, that's just something you can do. Actually, when you're using real buttons, by default, they will stack next to each other. They're not considered block elements. But that's something to definitely consider, is having them like aligned more horizontally, just because you know, the layouts themselves is very horizontal, you know, horizontal headers, horizontal content, and it just creates sort of an awkward amount of negative space. So if this were brought over and maybe even aligned like underneath the type rather than underneath the image in doing so, just something to maybe consider trying out and seeing how that looks. But let's dig into the code and see what is up with the alignment here, as well as the alignment of the social icons. So I'm going to take a moment and get your project open. Let me close any files I might have open though first, just to avoid confusion. All right, let's see. Really, your index and your style sheet should be all I need for this. All right, cool. So let's start by taking a look at things here. So we have really any one of these should do the trick for us, wherein we've got a column 1, column 2 here. Let's see, accommodations, entertainment, dining. Let me just quickly refresh my memory here in the browser. Okay. We'll do accommodations, I think, this one here. So let's see. So accommodations. Okay, cool. So we have a container. This is potentially the parent container. And what we're doing here is we're using that to flex these two. So it's likely the fact that the text inside of the column is surrounded by the paragraph tag. That is probably what's bumping you down. Let's just try removing that for a moment. Or I'm going to try removing it first, but if we want to keep that, that certainly is something that I can show you how to restyle so that we don't get that bump down. But let's just take a look here first and foremost.
Okay.
I can also show you an alternate way of handling that where we don't need the paragraph tags, but we're still controlling all of that type, okay? So let me just quickly save that. And let's see what it looks like here. Let's see, where did I put? Yep. Have that window around here somewhere. I don't know where. There it is. Okay. Yes. So it's definitely the paragraph tag. So a couple of things we can do. Since you have it already styled and in so many places, let's not actually remove it, but rather let's just adjust the way that you're currently handling them. So I'm going to go ahead and undo and get those paragraph tags back. We'll head on over to your style and we'll take a look here. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and we will just do on this like a margin top. And we're going to bump that up. We'll use a negative value. Now the font size is 25 pixels. So I'm going to start by bumping it up 25 pixels using a negative value. We might have to adjust that number slightly, but it should be a really good starting point for us. So I'll save that. We'll come on back in here. We'll refresh. So yeah, it actually is a little bit more than we need. So let's go ahead and make the further adjustments. Probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 20 still might be a little bit much. I'm thinking probably more like 18, but let's see. No, it's actually going to need even more than that. Well, let's do a negative like 10 on that. All right, we're getting there. So actually I said 18, but it might actually be 8. And obviously you can kind of noodle around with that number too and get it exactly where you want it to be.
Yeah.
But that's essentially how you would do it. And you'll notice that that's going to happen across all of them across the whole site, being that you very wisely recycled that style over and over and over again. And that, guys, I'm sure at this point you guys are realizing this, but that's the beauty of style sheets. The more that you can recycle individual styles, the more power that they have to control things very quickly across, the whole site with just some simple changes. Let's take a look then next at the social icons and see what's going on there. So here, actually, let me go into the HTML. Let's see how this is set up. Okay, so the footer, let's see here. Let's see, Jose, is it this one right here? The
Oh yeah, the second one. Sorry, all the alts are the same.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. Cool. So that, let's see, let me go back again into your browser. So let's see. So is the hope with this to get this to go under these? Is that the idea?
Yeah, somewhere like under the light space.
Cool. We can do this. So, okay. So the first thing is let's rely on HTML to do some of the work for us. So being that it's here above the links, that's one of the reasons why it's displaying before the links. So if we take it out from there and rather put it here, it now is coming after those links. Now it's probably not going to be positioned right just yet, but it should now at least be under there. So let's give that a quick look and see how that is being handled. Let's see, minimize our preview here. Oh, so now it's after that now. So now it's just going to be a matter of telling it to come down further and then potentially maybe centering it. Okay, so let's. I don't want this. Let's come back over here. Okay, so right now it's happening with an image, and we've got a class attached to that image. We can probably do this directly on that image class that you have there. So I'm just going to copy that. Go into your CSS. I'm using a shortcut, guys, of Command F to find. And if I find that class, it will, let's see, in theory, so no results. So that class is potentially not being defined here yet. All right, no biggie. We can go ahead and make that happen. We'll go ahead and define image 1. And let's see, let's go ahead and first of all, address the margin, like where it's positioned. So we'll do a margin dash top. I'm going to push it down. So I'll use a positive value. Now I'm going to type in 100. We'll see where that gets us. but then potentially we might want to center it as well. Or so I'm going to go ahead and do a margin left, and I'll set that to auto, and then a margin right, and we'll set that to auto as well. And we'll give that a save, and let's see where we are at with that. Okay, cool. Well, it definitely dropped down. It's not centering yet, and that could be for a few reasons. Let's investigate. First of all, let's make sure, number one, I spelled things correctly. The number two, let's take a look at the parent container and see what might be going on there in terms of how it is working with things, because we can actually use the parent container, then we can flex it and use the justified content of centered as well. So let's see. So I don't see anything misspelled in here, so I don't think that's an issue. I'll turn my attention now to the parent container, which would be the footer. So let's take a look at what might be happening with footer. So again, I'm just going to do a find. We'll look for footer. There it is. Okay, cool. So it is flexed. Let's go ahead then and do a justify content. And we'll set that up to center. And now it should center. Now, there might be some ramifications that come with the other things inside of it as well. So we'll see. Worst case scenario, I will put that image inside of its own div and center it inside of its own div, but we'll give it a look real quick. We'll see. Ooh, actually, it's not centering that at all. So let me take a look here real quick. I want to see that image. Okay, good. So it is a small image. I was looking just to see if it was any longer. Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking, because I've been doing that too as well, except for the left auto, left auto. That's new, actually. That's pretty useful. But I think it might be container 4 for the links.
Let's take a look. Well, let's see. So container 4, in theory, it shouldn't influence the image because container 4 opens here, but it closes before that image. But with that being said, let's definitely take a look at what's happening with container 4. Otherwise, again, I'll put the image inside of its own div, and we'll center it inside of that div, and we should be fine at that point.
Okay.
So we've got a few options. Container 4. The margin bottom is definitely something that we don't want to use in this case. So if we're looking for 20 pixels on the bottom of container 4, we'll want to do that with padding rather. Margin bottom really starts to throw off the stuff that comes next. So I'm going to save that. I don't necessarily think that's going to immediately fix things for us, but at least we'll have a better chance of getting it to listen to us than we did for using that. Let's see here. Yeah, it's still not moving for us. So again, a few options with this. I'm going to put this first of all inside of a div. Okay. This div, we can give a class to this. Oh, you know what, actually, think about this. You know, that margin auto left and right actually may have worked if I would have set the display of it to block, but it's okay. Let's give this a go here real quick. Okay, so there's image 1. Now that I've actually got this inside of a thing called socials, I can actually control its margin top and all of those things directly on the container now that it's in. But here, we've got a few options with this. I'm going to set the display of this to flex. I'll set the justify content to center. And let's give that a quick look and see how she's acting now. Wow, that is a stubborn one. Okay. Want to make sure that this style is working. So we're going to put a background color in there real quick. Okay, cool. So you can actually see here. This is good that it's like putting a background color in there shows me like what is essentially what's happening. I was expecting this background color to extend out the whole way because it is a div and I didn't assign a width to it. So this is giving us a clue that something is here and just preventing us from taking advantage of this whole space. So what might that be? What we would need to investigate here would be ultimately what's going on across this whole footer. Okay, so let's see here. So there's several components. There's the footer itself. There's the div called logo. There's the div called container. And now there's this div called social. What I'm going to do just from a time standpoint here, I'm going to, first of all, comment out the containers in front of social. So these will not be red right now. That's going to very kind of quickly give me an idea of if one of those things is creating the conflict, first of all. Sort of. I mean, it's definitely helping with centering, but it's not helping with the overall width of this. So what that means to me is that if I'm going to debug this, the debugging is going to happen within the footer itself. Something there is causing its child here to not be able to extend all the way out. Okay, so let's take one more look here at the footer. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so it's got, I mean, it's pretty basic stuff here. We're flexing, we're adding, we're telling the footer to count down 50 pixels. We're setting the fonts, the font size, the font color. We're aligning it to the center. So actually, here's two things. We don't necessarily need a text align center and a justified content center. Now, again, I'm not saying that that's the particular issue that we have here, but I don't necessarily, these are essentially trying to do the same thing. So we don't necessarily need both of those. We do have a height, which again, we really probably don't need a height. What we would do if you want the size of it to grow is we could use padding to do that. But I actually don't see anything in particular that is causing an issue here. Let's see. Let's make sure all of these lines are okay. Oh no, that's okay. So what I'm looking at is looking if all of these lines are closed, looking for those semicolons. They all are. So I don't really see any issues there. Let me just for a moment take that out. I'm curious still how this thing acts. Okay, so there is an issue within that footer. You can see here when I took that code out, it is allowed to fully expand. Now, you know, what might that issue be? There's nothing that is terribly obvious to me, but I'm going to take out this text center for a moment because again, that's redundant. We won't necessarily need it. Okay, well, it's still not expanding out. I'm not necessarily sure why. Take the height out here as well. That should not necessarily cause it. Yeah, it's not necessarily causing that issue. We'll put the height back in just for now.
Could it possibly like the link spacers maybe?
It's possible. It's possible. Let's see.
I did give him a separate link spacer for them. I think link spacer 2, only just to get them up above.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. It's unlikely, but it's possible, certainly. Let's see here. Yeah, no, I don't necessarily think that that's it because I don't necessarily see like a width that might be intruding. Here's what we'll do for now, for the time being with this. And And I can certainly give this a more thorough look, either when we're done looking at everybody else's or over the course of the next day or two, and I can just make a video recording for you.
No, yeah, I think that'd be best.
Yeah, it might be because we're at a point where it's gonna take some tearing apart. Is basically what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's okay. But yes, there's certainly a conflict here. Let me make a quick note. I'm for all notes for this this week, guys. Let me just grab a quick something to write with, so I can keep track of these, so I can actually make you guys these. So give me just 1 second. Okay, so Jose footer. All right, cool. It's a small thing, Jose. And again, I will get back to you on what the issue is there. If I see something similar in other sites that we're looking at today, I'll just post the video to the whole class for us to, for you guys to be able to use as a resource. But if that's where you're at in terms of tweaks that need to happen, Jose, you're in shape. So, really nice work.
Thank you. And thank you for the help.
Yeah, no problem. All right, let's see here. Let me close those. And let's see. Let's see. Catherine, I'm going to actually download yours real quick. Catherine, I did mention, I don't know if you were in class at the beginning, but I did post a video into the week 14 area. I made it yesterday, and it does talk about how to fix the issue that we tried to fix last week with the navigation and the hero banner. So in week 14, this link right here to this YouTube video that I made, it's fairly short. It's should be about you think I'd remember, I just made it yesterday, but I'm pretty sure it's about 9 minutes long total. So it's a fairly fast watch. But let's give your site a look here.
Okay, because I struggled a lot making my.
Yeah, no worries. That video, it's going to show you a few things, not only how to get the navigation to go up, but then how to compensate for the rest of the content. So I strongly recommend giving that a watch and implementing that. It should be fairly straightforward for you. The issue really ran down, Catherine, you remember I was able to get your navigation to go up before, but then the background color, the semi-transparent background color was going away. So I show you how to fix that by taking your hero banner image and making it a background image as well. So in addition to that, I talk about when we make the navigation go up, how it's going to make all of your content go up as well. And I talk about how to fix that, how the math works behind that.
Okay, I only worked in my index page because I was struggling to code it in, so I didn't want to do a second one if I was having issues with the first. Sure,
no, understood. And obviously give that video a watch. If you have any questions with it, reach out to me, please let me know.
Okay.
And this was, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the hero banner here?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, what I show is what we'll end up doing with this is you're going to take that navigation. You'll actually put the navigation under it, and we'll move the navigation up on top of it. Okay. But again, give it a watch. Let me know if you have any issues with it. It should be fairly straightforward for you. Let's see. Okay. So one of the things I think you want to consider, Catherine, moving forward is we want to start getting the borders off of these containers. Obviously, it starts to create a very boxy layout that looks like the web did a very, very long time ago when we built all of our websites and tables. But the rest of the content is at least in place. Depending on how this looks, once the borders go away, we may want some of this text to lower. If that's something that you decide that you want to do, you can start putting, there's really a couple ways you could do it. We could move the text physically down, or we could just put some padding on the top of these containers and push them down that way. Let me open yours up real quick in the in Visual Studio. and we'll give it a look in terms of how that is set up. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, so in this case, the text itself is being controlled by the columns that they are in. So we can go ahead and just like address them there. So like column 1, for example, or column 2-1. Let's take a look for column 1. There we go. Cool. So if you did want that text to lower down, we could go ahead and do a padding top. And let's just say, for example, maybe you wanted the text to come down, I don't know, 50 pixels. We could code it as such. And then let's get that index page reopened. And there we go. And now you can see how the text, you know, for that column, it starts to push down. So, you know, I threw in a random number of 50. It really kind of depends on how you want it to sit relative to the image. But I would bring it down a little bit so it's not like aligned with the very, very top of the oval. But, you know, it could be 50, could even be 100 pixels that that you have that come on down. So that's pretty straightforward. You'll see here for any of those that are where you have column 1 being used, it takes care of all of them for there. So you'd want to do like column 2-1 then as well, using the same number. But yeah, I think you've got a good start to this. You know, please, again, watch that video, give it a watch. It'll talk about how to get this, you know, your link and your hero banner squared away. And of course, if you have any questions with it, please let me know. But basically, you're just going to be making this a background image inside of the header. We'll be taking the links. So your navigation, ultimately, what you're going to want to do with your nav is let's see, right here. Your nav is actually going to be placed. Oh, okay. So there's a few issues here. Actually, Catherine, your nav right now is not in your wrapper. That's something else that we want to get addressed. That probably also is giving you a real hard time with working with this because it's not in the same container as the rest of your stuff. But basically putting the nav under the header like so. And then in that video, I talk about how to get it to come up on top of the header. But the header, this image will actually come out of the header. And instead of being added physically in the HTML, you'll add it as a background image inside of the style. And I walk through that as well. But basically, guys, you can think of a background image versus an image. An image, when you put it into a container, is like putting a physical thing inside of a box versus a background image is like putting wallpaper on the back side of a box. It leaves the whole box still open, but at the back of the box, there's an image. So so that's basically what we need to do to make this work. And again, I walk through that on that. So give it a watch. If you have any questions, reach on out to me, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, let's see here. Bella, let's give yours a look next.
I had problems with my computer this week, so I wasn't able to put in any images, but
Okay.
I did style once, and then I put in some of the actual text I was going to use.
Okay, cool. Cool.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, the nice thing about this is, even though the images aren't present, Bella, I know that you know how to take care of images. So that's not necessarily a big deal. But yeah, over the course of the next week, definitely start to add those, you know, those background colors, start adding some text. I mean, the typographical hierarchy here is very nice. I mean, the designs you put together were beautiful in Photoshop or Illustrator, whatever you made them in. But how's the computer working for you now? Is it, you've got things under control?
Yeah, it's working now. It's just
Okay.
that like I work on 2 separate computers, so sometimes like moving things like gets weird.
Yes,
But
I
it's
understand.
now.
I've got 2 here as well. And yeah, if it weren't for like I use Dropbox, I actually use Google Drive as well, but Dropbox is my main cloud. If it wasn't for that, I would be going insane. So, but I understand it. The struggle is real. Yeah, so we have next week as well to touch base on this project before it's due. We can obviously give it a look then, but if you have things in place before then and you want some feedback, please feel free to upload the updated folder and just shoot me an email and ask me to give it a look, and I'm happy to do so. But where you're at right now, things were looking good. Were there any technical issues at all that you couldn't figure out?
Not really. I think with the videos that you uploaded now, I should be able to do everything.
Okay, cool. And as always, of course, if not, just reach out to me. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
No problem. Jalen, let's give yours a look here next.
I haven't set up the links yet, so you're gonna have to open up the index, and then my first one is the nature one.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I have a quick question with just because the initial text under experience,
Mhm.
I didn't know how to, like, if it was just padding or how to set that up so it's more like inside. If that makes sense. I would want it like aligned with the images.
Okay, you do want it aligned with the images?
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
it look
Okay.
better.
Cool. Yes, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. So we'll talk about that. Okay, cool. Here, let's in fact, let's make that happen real quick. I will open this up in Visual Studio Code, and we'll see how this is set up. So, okay, cool. Was it this type right here under the H2?
Yeah, correct.
Excellent. So if we take a look for H2, cool. So, nice start to this. Yeah, it literally is just going to be putting some padding on this. So if we just did padding all by itself, that's going to put padding all around the type. So on the top, left, right, and bottom. If you just want padding on the right and left, we would do padding left. And let's just say, for example, maybe we throw 100 pixels of padding on that, and then we could do a padding right. And we can do 100 pixels on that as well. And we can get an idea at least of, ballpark where that gets us now.
Those both said left, Matt.
Oh, did they?
Right.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, they did. Thanks, Jess. That much appreciated. I would have figured that out eventually, but in the meantime, I'm like, huh. There we go. Cool. So 100 is a little bit much. Obviously, you could loosen that number up a little bit and get it to extend back and forth, but that's how we do that. I'm going to try, let's add a little line spacing to this as well. I feel like the spacing in between the sentences is a little bit tight. Let's see here. Line height, that's what we want. Let's see, let's go ahead and do, I'm going to start with like 10 pixels, get an idea of where that is with this particular font and this particular size, and we can always adjust from there. So, okay, obviously far too small. So let's actually add 10 to, so it's 18 pixels. Let's try 28. Okay, so maybe that's a little bit too loose, but I do, we're close. We're in the ballpark. I think it's better than what it was a moment ago, because I feel like it was just a little bit too tight. That's a 26. That's not too shabby. Ultimately, I felt like the descenders and the ascenders were a little bit getting a little bit too cozy with each other. Even here, we're maybe still a little bit too tight. So maybe going back to that 28 that I had is going to give us a little bit more of a comfortable amount of space in between those. So do consider that as well, Jalen, but looks good. Looks good. I mean, I would probably loosen up the line spacing on these also. That's just a touch tight. Let's see. Let's go ahead and open up one of the other pages. Okay, good. Yeah, same thing. I would definitely loosen the line spacing up a touch. or the line height is what it's, so I keep saying line spacing. That comes from the terminology of Adobe programs. In the character panel, it's called your line spacing. In CSS, that would be referred to as line height. But yeah, I would do that as a small tweak. So here, I'm gonna brighten up my monitor a bit. So this is a really, really small design thing, Jalen, but consider on an image like this, maybe brightening the midtones up a bit. I'm just going to copy that. I'll show you what I mean by that. The rest of the photos I think look really, really nice. This one though, it's just, you know, compared to the other photos where the greens are really vibrant, this is much more of just sort of a silhouette. So if you wanted to use that image, a small tweak that takes literally a few seconds to make, I'll talk about it real quick.
Okay. I also had so the design, I don't know if you remember on my wireframes, like the wrapper is all different color.
Yeah, do you want to talk about how to make that different color?
Yeah, because in each page is a different color, and I don't know if like would I have to make a different wrapper or how
Yes.
that would work.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we'll totally talk about that. Yeah, no problem. So for this image, you know, again, it's a little bit on the dark side. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust levels first of all. I'll just come down to the little levels of, well, I should say the adjustment layer icon down here. I'll put a levels adjustment on that. And in general, when we're trying to lighten up, you know, an area like this, it's going to be the midtones that we want to tweak. And we just want to bring those over to the left a bit. Okay, and you can see how that really, really brightens things up. Now, if you still want to retain some of the deep shadows, we can bump back over the darks, but basically I'll turn it on and off. You can kind of see where it was, where it is now. The nice thing about an adjustment layer though is it comes with a mask. So in this case, that adjustment that I made is nice what's happening here. But if you look at the sky, I'm kind of blowing out your sky and even those mountains back there. So I can go on your mask and grab a paintbrush that is black, and you know, size is pretty good in this case. And I can now, let's get my opacity all the way up on this brush. And I can now mask back in your original sky. Make that brush a little bit smaller. I'm not going to do like the world's best masking here, just from a standpoint of time. But you know, you can get it kind of close. And now we've got that happening. We could even, if you really wanted to, I don't know that you need to go to this level, we could even add another levels adjustment where we get the sky to pop a little bit more. You know, same thing, I'll add another levels adjustment. This time I would actually darken and then mask out the bottom part because now I just made the bottom part too dark. If we're just looking at the skies and the mountains, that's a nice, you know, nice way to do that. Realistically, I could probably, I mean, that's one way to do it. If I'm doing this, I'm just going to take this mask and invert it. So I would alt click to show the mask, highlight it and copy it, come on over to this mask, alt click to bring it up and paste that other mask and then just invert it, Command I, okay? And now I've got kind of best of both worlds. One is darkening the sky, one is lightening the area underneath it, and then you can just save that for the web. But I think just a small thing that I think will get that image to jive a little bit better with the others. Now, you asked a really good question that is, I think, going to be helpful for all of you guys, even if you're not doing it on this project. Inevitably, there will come a time if you start building websites professionally where you're going to want to have a different color background or different thing happening in one wrapper compared to another wrapper on another page. So here's how I would go about doing this. I am going to go ahead and open up another page. Let's say nature. And what we will do is we'll go to the wrapper here on your nature page and we'll change the class name to wrapper nature. And then I'm going to come on over to your style sheet and I'm going to find the wrapper. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it and I'm going to change this one to wrapper nature. And then I can go in here and I can change the background color for that. Let's say to another color. Save that. And now your nature page, in theory, I'm doing something wrong here. Let's see, did I not save that? It's possible. Nature, wrapper nature. just make sure that I'm spelling this right. So I'm going to copy that. Come over to your style sheet and paste that. Okay. Let's see here. There we go. Cool. Obviously, that was a really gaudy color I just picked there, but that's how we would do it, Jalen. So potentially on every page that you have, you're just having a different wrapper set up. And all you really need to change is just the background color, potentially, of it, as well as the class name. Okay.
Okay, I was just wondering because I was like, I don't know if it's gonna get really muddy with everything going on, but yeah,
Sure.
it is right. Just making different classes. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. And just I guess for some tips, keep them all together. That way, because I say this from personal experience. There's been times where I've not grouped my things, and then all of a sudden I've got 300-400 lines of code, and I'm scrolling up and down trying to find these different wrappers. So if you keep them all in the same place, you always know where to go to reference them. Another thing that you can do, guys, I don't know if you realize this or not, but in Visual Studio Code, next to each name, these different selectors and classes, there's little arrows. You can click on them and condense your code. And then so that you're not seeing it's not taking up screen real estate. And then when you want to see it, you can actually open it back up. So that's kind of a useful thing as well. Because, let's be honest, these wrappers are all going to be the same except for the background color. So there's no reason for us to be looking at, potentially 50, 60 lines of code here that we'd have to scroll through. Okay, cool. Jalen, the site is looking really good though at this point. It should be a fairly straightforward, last couple of weeks for you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Kathy, let's give yours a look here next. All right, cool, Kathy. That worked out nicely up here, and the links worked out well. Here, there's actually kind of a wacky thing going on here, huh?
Yeah, that's my first question. I made the Peak Adventures logo a link, and I don't know how to not have. I'm assuming that the reason that is there is because I have a padding on the A link for all the navigation links, and I don't know how to separate that from.
Absolutely. In fact, you're going to run into that with every link you make. You're going to run into that. Okay. So
I know. Well, I have a couple links on the other pages. Now, how do I separate and have two links?
That's a great question. This is like the fundamentals of styles, and we all inevitably run into a situation like this where we're like, oh no, like this is this is not good. So let's talk about how we can use classes in this case to save the day. So
I tried to use it. If you can see on I tried to install an ID actually. I think.
Okay. So let's do it.
See where I put ID logo #logo link.
Yes, absolutely.
I tried that to try to get that to try to be able to do something different.
So, okay, so let's talk, we can talk IDs, we can also talk classes in this case. So you can potentially do it with an ID, but I'm not going to recommend it. But let's just see real quick. I want to see your use of the ID here and see, is it maybe at the bottom? Let's see. Here, what was that?
It should be up by navigation.
Let's see.
Yeah, it should be right up just a little bit.
There it is.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
right there.
Gotcha. So the good news is you are using an ID correctly. You're using the pound sign. That's one of the things I wanted to check. So ultimately, I mean, here's what I would recommend to you. In terms of how to work with classes or IDs with this. So in the case of this, these are the only links I'm guessing that you're going to want to have this treatment to, right? Where they have this background color, have this border treatment. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, I thought about using it on the footer, but only because I couldn't change it either.
Sure.
You can see it's on the footer as well.
Yeah. So, things like your footer links or regular text links or maybe an image, those are all things that we probably don't want this style on. So it makes sense, in my opinion, to get these links in your navigation to be styled this very specific way, and get them, get all of your other links to be styled another way. So what I would recommend that we do here is we make a class for all of these links here. You can definitely add additional classes. I'm going to call this nav link. And that's something then that we can apply to all of the links in your nav. Okay. Let's save that. We'll come on over to your style sheet. And let's see here. So here is your A. Actually, we don't even necessarily have to do it direct to the A. We can just do it with dot navlink. Okay, and now this should apply only to those links in your navigation. Okay, so let's give that a quick look. And actually, there's still another way we're going to potentially maybe want to deal with this, but let's just start with that. Oh, interesting. So why is it not happening on these? These are the other ones that have the class. Let me just see if I copied and pasted incorrectly here. What am I doing wrong there? It should have taken 2, but let's see here. Yeah, there we go. My bad. The classes just get nested. The names just get nested right inside of the same class parameter here. So it ends up looking like this. Shoot, I don't want to keep using the projects. Got a window, rogue window here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. Cool. They're all looking good now at this point. Cool. Another thing you could do, I'm not saying you have to, but another thing you could do is, because I do like just these turning blue, but if you ever wanted like the background color to change color as well, or like the border color to change color as well, that's something that we could do in here by, let's see here, what would it look like? It would be, I have to, something I have to look up because it's been a while since I've done it, but basically we can do the pseudo like a hover. I believe it looks like this, Kathy. Like here, in a second. Let's just run a quick test. Otherwise, I can look it up. It's not a biggie, but we can do like a hover. Actually, hang on. Hover. I think we would need though to do this one like this, where we would do a link. And then we could start to change things about this. Like we could make the background color. I'm just going to go red with it. It's going to be ugly and gaudy, but let's just make sure it works before I, yeah, there we go. So we could potentially add things further to it using those pseudo classes that we've done before. It starts to look kind of crazy because now we're doing a pseudo class and we're attaching it to another class, but it's absolutely possible to do if you wanted to control like the hover or the visited states on those as well. Okay. But yeah.
So the index, so on the first page, then does the index, or you haven't got to that yet, or does the index or the navigation on the logo still work?
Yes, let's give it a look. Yep.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah, because really all I changed was just the style at this point, not really the functionality of anything. Now, to make this work across your other pages, Kathy, what you have to do, because these are not going to look that way. That's because while we did change the style, I also did change the HTML by adding this extra class. So easiest way to implement that on your sub pages is just to add that nav link class into each and every sub page's navigation links.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
you know, a
okay.
little copy paste,
I can
but
do that.
not too bad. But you know, we haven't had an issue like that pop up so far this semester, but honestly, I'm glad it did happen just so we could see how to handle that, because inevitably it will rear its ugly head. And if we've not seen it in the past, it can be very difficult to figure out like, why is that even, you know, sort of happening here.
So if I wanted to still make a link, then I could still use the A tag
Yes,
for the other.
absolutely. That's what this just freed up for us. Now, anytime you ever want to use the A tag in another instance, you can, and it's not going to carry over and have like this background color and this border and,
Okay.
and all the rest of that. So yes, that's exactly what we
Yeah,
just did.
that was how I couldn't figure out how to do that.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Okay, cool. Let's give this a look. So maybe consider this box, maybe widening it a bit. Not that it has to go all the way over to the edge, but maybe a bit more, and maybe a little bit more padding on the top and bottom. It feels a little bit cramped, I think, compared to the other elements on the page.
Okay, and then I would just have to, it'll like draw out the wording, so then I just have to make a left margin? Or,
Well, sort of.
you know what I'm saying? Because
Maybe.
if I make it bigger, it's gonna make my writing spread out. That's why I didn't do it.
Gotcha. So if you use padding, it shouldn't, because the padding
Okay.
adds the spacing on the inside. So
Oh, okay.
if you put like another like 50 pixels, well, okay. So actually, I see what you're saying. So actually, yes, you're gonna do. I would actually increase the width of the box, but whatever
Okay.
you increase that width by, let's keep the math easy for now. Let's just say you increase the width of the box by 40 pixels. What you'll do then is you'll add 20 pixel padding on the left, 20 pixel padding on the right, so that the text still stays the same, because the spacing inside the box technically is the same. We're increasing the width, but we're telling whatever that width is being added, we're adding half of that onto padding. So it's essentially, it's still keeping and respecting the text the way that you set it up. Because I do like that. I kind of like very much like the diagonal edges on this. It's a good look.
Okay.
And yeah, hey, look now the footer links are looking
Yes, much
more
better.
graceful than they were with the big boxes. So that's good. Cool. Kathy, consider, I mean, this page looks great. My only suggestion is maybe consider a tweak of color on About Us. That red is kind of jarring compared to everything else. You've got these beautiful sort of like earthy organic tones, and then this like really kind of like ultra saturated red.
Yeah, it seems like when I do it on my computer, it looks dull, but then when you, I don't know, it just seemed like it wasn't very bright, but then when I put it like on a bigger monitor, then it was really bright.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Cool. So yeah, small thing. And you know, it could even be pulling this beautiful green you have up here into that. Now, also maybe consider making the header a little bit larger. Although maybe we'll see, because I'm guessing some of these other pages. Yeah, so let's not make it larger, because I think then you're going to really have some big issues, because most of the other headers are going to be like just in general large enough. Good.
Okay.
Can I make a slight suggestion here?
Yeah, absolutely, Chad.
Did you do your logo? Did you make that logo?
Yeah, I did.
My suggestion, maybe give a little more room around with the border, or maybe ditch the border. I don't even think it's needed, to be honest with you.
You know, Chad,
Yeah,
That's a suggestion.
honestly, I thought that it might have put the border on there because I had the border on the navigation. But
I mean, that's totally
I
up
don't
to you,
know,
but it's just a suggestion, because I feel like
Yeah,
it's too
no.
tight, you know,
Yeah, I agree.
or maybe get rid of it. I don't think you need it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, Kathy, just a suggestion, a further suggestion. Let's see here. I just want to make sure that border is not actually in the image. Yeah, it's the border is not actually in there. So is that happening via a style? Did you add a style to that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So even better. So that's a very easy thing to fix. But yeah, Chaz, thank you for mentioning that. I was going to mention that originally, and then got wrapped up in looking at the page itself. But yeah, I agree. The border is definitely not needed on that.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, these pages look wonderful. Really, really nice. Nice big images. The ratio to image versus text is really strong. Very strong typographical hierarchy is present on all of these pages. It is looking good. Now, actually, look.
Yeah, I just kind of
Tiles, too.
trying out the whole email thing.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So let's see here. So I would definitely style this form the same way that you're styling the form above and below it. But that's looking
I
good.
didn't know how to do that. I hadn't gotten that far.
Gotcha. So it'll essentially just be you just using the exact same style that you're using on both of these on this one here. So essentially, Kathy, if I open that up real quick.
Well, when I didn't know in the example that I was kind of going by,
Mhm.
it seemed like when I put the word email in, it changed it. Or is it the input type that I put input type? I don't know I don't honestly know how I even got the email part.
Yes, so definitely
I don't know which is affecting it.
the input, it's going to be the input type that's going to be affecting that. In fact, actually let's see. Wow. So hang on. So I'm actually surprised that the top one and the bottom one are working because they have different styles. So let me or different input types. Let me take a look real quick at the style and see where those are existing. And we can get you going there. Oh, here's a, so
Yeah,
Kathy,
I don't know why.
H7
Can I not use an H7?
No, H7 is not a thing. Now you
Yeah,
could.
I did. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So what you can do, if you want to use that, make it a class. And then instead of using an H7 tag, use another tag, like, it could be one of the H tags, and you just add an H7 class to it, or a paragraph with a H7 class, or just give it its own class name that's not
Its own
H7.
class name. Okay.
Yeah, it stops at H6, I believe.
Yeah, I figured that out, and it would always show that.
So let's see here. So this is actually this is probably, let's see. So you've got the input, you've got the type set of text. That's all good. Okay. So this one here, your email, the submit, the type, input type submit, this would be used for a button rather than a form. So this would be, this line 55. You'd actually want this line to be the same as what you're using, let's say here. But obviously you would change like the placeholder, right? You could just type like your email here. So the input type of a submit is for an actual button, the button that goes under the form that they would click to actually submit the data.
Yeah, well, if you look at it, it's just above it on that when you were looking at the code.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
email part was just above it. See it label for text ID email. So I did that. So I just need to take the input out.
Yeah, well, the input type should be text, like this one is here.
Oh, so I need to say, instead of submit, it needs to be text.
Yep, exactly, because that's what the user's entering into that. They're entering text. Now, what you can do is you can, make it text. You can give it a name. So instead of saying first name, you can say email.
It doesn't one above it do that though. Oh no, that's not input. That's label. I have it labeled wrong. The line above it says label, but that's what my intention was. Do you see?
Yes. So let's see here.
Or is that not making sense?
No, it does. It does. So yes. So this would just be.
Right. I just need to change label.
Yeah, just changing that.
Or I mean,
exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. That's
and input type. It should be input type, not label for.
Exactly. Absolutely. You got it. So yes. So small thing. But yeah,
okay.
that would be input type. And then again, I'm going to build a demo for you guys. I'm doing the buttons, so you can hold off on that in the meantime. But yeah, it's really, looks fantastic for you as well. It should be a very, very straightforward, last week and a half or so. So very, very nice.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yep, no problem. Kathy, any other questions? Anything that potentially I didn't address that that you're having issues with?
No, I don't think so. I think we hit all the main issues.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, thanks.
No problem. Yeah, let me clear out Visual Studio and let's hit up the next one. Jen, let's give yours a look here next.
I I have two of them because I've been working and I was gone all last week. I kind of feel like I forgot everything. So I spent like 3 hours today just trying to remember, trying to catch up on all my work.
Okay.
Um,
I'm gonna take the most current one you uploaded.
okay.
If you want.
And I don't really have anything done. To be honest, I don't know what happened. I just like forgot how to do everything.
Okay, well, let's get you caught up on things. Okay.
So I had to kind of go back into the old website we did and was looking at how to even put images in. I don't even know what happened to me, but
that
I don't know.
vacation, maybe maybe had got away on that vacation and just sort of let it all go away.
Yeah.
Good time by the pool, Jen. It's okay though.
Yeah. A lot of this actually even looks different as of right now
Yeah.
because I've been working on it. So I have to create the logo because I did it in Illustrator. So now I got to make it a JPEG.
Mhm.
And then I have to do the links. I'm just not even there yet for the links. I'm not there. So I really don't have anything really to show you. I mean,
well, I mean, it's certainly it's coming together, right? I mean, compared to where you were on Monday with it, where it was just a wireframe,
right.
you're definitely making progress. So here's the question for you. While I have this open, is there anything specific that I can help refresh with?
Well, I was having trouble. Sorry, my dog needs to be on top of me right now. I don't know why. I don't know. I think I screwed up and then I found out what I did wrong and then it's fixed now. So as of right now, as I'm going through, it's okay. As far as, I want to see what the buttons look like, the demonstration you're going to do in a little while, you said.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm going to record that
any...
for you guys to post for next week. So
okay.
You might have just hold off on those. They're easy enough to do though. So rest assured when you see that next week, you'll be able to plug them in, no problem.
Okay, I guess if you go down where the little images were underneath right there. Oh, they look so blurry on yours compared to mine. Those are going to be separate links. They're 4 different boxes.
Okay.
It's not all one image.
Okay.
So then I wanted to make them links.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't put the text on top of them because I didn't know if that's what we do with the links. You added the text.
Yeah, so to make those links, what you would do is, let me open that up real quick. I can show you.
Sorry if this is like redundant.
No, Jen, it's all good. And if there ends up being a lot, no worries. You've got me for class tomorrow, and class is going to be almost entirely work time. So we can, hit up anything else, then, but yeah, let's talk about this real quick. So for those images, let's see here. Is that these right here?
No, I think there are 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what you would do to make them each a link is that you would surround the image itself with an A tag. So opening A tag, closing A tag will go after the image. And then here's where you would go ahead and put in the href that would include the actual link. And then you want a alt tag as well. You don't have to populate the alt tag, but you will want it. If you were really building the site for real, this is where you could type in information that Google images and search engines would use to categorize an image, as well as if somebody were using a screen reader, when they hovered over that image, it would say whatever's in the alt tag. Most of us don't use it for that reason. Most of us will just use it for, again, for SEO purposes.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
doing
sorry.
that makes that an image. Now, the one thing you'll have to keep in mind is by default, when you do that, that image is going to get a blue border around it. So anytime we're using images for links, we want to go into the style and tell the A tag to have a border that equals none.
Okay.
And that'll take care of it. But don't let the, otherwise that can shock you. It's like, oh my God, why do I have this big gaudy blue border around, all images all of a sudden?
Okay, great. All right, well, I'll keep working and, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. And again, I mean, don't hesitate to start making a list of things that we want to address that you just need to refresh on. We should have a good couple of hours of time to dig into things.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, Jen.
Thanks, bye.
I know it might seem like it right now, but you're doing okay. The amount of time that you've gotten from no wireframes to wireframes to starting to fill them, it's fine. Keep working diligently, and you'll be okay with it.
Okay, thanks.
Let's see. Chance, let's give yours a look here next.
So I'm pretty much done. I guess it's more of a critique of what you think might work better or what I could change.
Sounds good.
I was going cross-eyed looking at it last night because I got like 65, I think I counted images total.
Wow. Okay. Oh man, the images look awesome.
I did the background too. I looked it up. I don't know if I did it correctly, but it seems to be working right.
Looks good. Oh man, that looks great. I mean, this is
all the links working.
That looks every bit as nice as the design concepts. I even like the slight shadow.
I put like a drop shadow and pushed it up a little,
just so it doesn't blend into that background image.
Right. That's why I did it, because it was kind of blending into the background.
Cool.
But yeah, there's like and then I put all the type in next to everything.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I put a little drop shadows around those photos too, just to kind of give it a little more pop to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now my original design, I didn't have a form, so I don't know if that's a requirement for this project. If you want me to add like another page to it, I don't know.
I would recommend it potentially, because it is a requirement for the project, Chaz. I don't want you to do
Okay.
for something that that I know that you can put together fairly easily.
Okay.
It might even be if you'd like, it could be something that goes in the footer, like on the home page or something as well. Okay.
Okay.
It's really have to be a whole nother page if you don't want to.
Okay. I could just add it in then.
But yeah, man, this really looks great. Maybe consider, I mean, if I could offer you any suggestion, even though the type here is differentiated by being italicized, it still is the same font, it's the same color, and it's the same size. So just one other thing to increase the hierarchy, maybe consider changing the size of this type, maybe making it like 2 pixels smaller.
Okay.
See what that looks like. You'll know right away whether or not you like it. And if you don't, then maybe change something else about it. Maybe make it like a 70% gray. Just to add a little bit of difference, little extra difference. And maybe even taking height requirement and making it bold, for example,
All the type is actually bold because it looked a little thin to me. So
okay.
Can I make it strong, I guess?
No, I wouldn't necessarily go that route, but
Okay.
but yeah, and it doesn't have to be that height requirement changes, right? I think maybe just changing the whole body of
Okay.
height requirement type to be a different size, I think will do the trick. But I think that's the only suggestion I really have for you at this point, Chaz. It really looks great. I mean, this is it's ready to go in the portfolio at this point.
Yeah, it took a long time. Thank you though.
No, I mean, it took a long time. I mean, that's obvious. I mean, it's really well polished. And that's awesome. I mean, it'll be a breeze for you over these last few weeks here in this class. Just be sure, if you haven't done so already, just back this sucker up at least twice, because obviously that amount of work you don't want to lose in case there happens to be a technical issue with the computer or hard drive or something. Okay? But really, really fantastic, impressive all around in terms of the design as well as the functionality of the code. Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Nick, let's give yours a look next.
Oh yeah, so I kind of got confused with the instructions, and I did like all of the pages as well, not just like the first home page and the first sub page.
No worries.
So
No,
it took a
that's
little
not
while.
bad thing. Yeah, that's not a bad thing at all. Okay. Cool. Let's see here. I'm gonna run through these pages real
And
quick.
since it took a little while, I got more like quantity over quality. So it's more of like a beta build of the website. So I still have some like refining to do.
Yeah, you know, I agree, Nick. I would almost call this at this point kind of a hybrid, right in between a wireframe and the design, right? Like, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, you've still got a good, like, you got a week and a half essentially to, well, really 2 weeks. I shouldn't say a week and a half. 2 weeks to get this really where it needs to be. And I think the main thing you'll want to focus on with this is focusing on here. Let's see. Well, I would definitely make this image up here a link, but I feel like the addition of color to this will go a really long way in getting it all to tie together well for you. And that's an easy thing, you know, just starting to potentially add some background colors in some areas, you know, whether it's, you know, maybe perhaps behind some of these areas, maybe behind here or in the buttons, could be in your headers, you know, looking at the designs that you put together in the design concepts. Hang on, my dog is, I don't know what the hell my dog is doing here, but it's, give me a second here. Come on, bud. Okay. All right, let's see here. Yeah, really, I think color is going to be the main thing. Maybe consider strengthening the typographical hierarchy a bit here, like category, locations, reviews, and ratings. I think if that type were a little bit larger, and again, maybe with the addition of a background color in perhaps those containers, or maybe, you know, in the background over here, that's going to be the biggest thing. Unfortunately, if that's the biggest thing, Nick, you're in great shape. It's easy enough to add background colors or to add color to type. You really do have the hard part out of the way at this point. The large majority of your work is done. It's just a matter of really bringing it to life via color. That's your challenge. And again, I think in areas like this, definitely boost the size and probably the weight of the type in those little areas that I'm highlighting. But it does appear like you've done a good job of building a style that you're recycling across those. So once you've got those in place, you are good to go. Maybe consider, I don't know Bartlett that well, unfortunately, but maybe consider, instead of putting like fast food places like a Subway, see if you can maybe find some places that are a little bit more homegrown, you know, and more representative of Bartlett rather than like a Subway, you know. Dogfather, I think is fine. Leave that. I'm not sure which I can't read that bar sign there, but clearly that's a local establishment. That would be about the only other thing I would recommend is if you can keep it to the things that are very much, you know, like on this page. This is great. All of these things are very local. I think it would just be the Subway would be about the only thing I think that I would recommend that you take out of there.
Yeah, for sure. I also had a question then. How do you make the logo a homepage link?
Great question. So let's do that real quick. So if I took your index page into, well, actually, index page is maybe not the best one to do it on because they were already there. Let's maybe do it on page 1. Okay. So looking at your logo, which is right here, what you would do is, actually, no, it looks like you, oh, okay. You almost made it a link. So here's what's going on there. You've got the image, you've got the A tag. The problem is that the image is not inside of the A tags. So if you just take this closing A tag and get it out of there and rather after the image, that is now a link. Okay. Let's see, be careful on this image. Sub-pixel units are not used on the web. Everything must be a whole number, so no decimals. So just making it 166 would be what you'd want to do for that logo image. And now let's take a look here. I saved that. Let's open up page 1 in the browser. And there we go. You can see now it's a link. If I hover over it, it takes us to the home page. So that's once you get it on one page, Nick, you can just copy and paste that onto all of your other pages, or just, just do what I did and just move that that closing A tag to underneath the image so that A tag, the link opens, inside the link is the image, and then the link stops. So it was just literally the misplacement of this A tag. So, not bad at all.
All right, awesome. And then I had one more question on the
Sure.
website. For pages 1 through 3, on my images, they have a little like chunk below them. Do you know how to like remove that?
Let's give it a look. Let's see, images. You said 3. Oh, like here?
Yeah, just like those little chunks.
Yeah, let's see what's going on there. Let's go page 3 here. Okay. All right, so with those, let's see how this is set up first of all. Okay. Cool, so we've got the div content, actually here, I think it's so example column 1, example column, a second. Yeah, so each one of these, okay, cool. So make sure I'm adjusting the right thing here. So this image is called page 3, image 1. Okay, cool. I am in the right area. I just want to make sure. Okay, so this is essentially the thing that we want to address. The only style I see here would be example column 1. So let's take a look at that and see if there is an obvious issue. Okay. It's probably coming from this height being set to auto. We won't need to set anything for height. The image being inside of it, that will do it automatically. Now, there's some other things we might need to tweak here as well, like the width being auto, or yeah, there's a few things. So let's take a look at where it's at right now. So that was what that would have been page 3. That should, let's see. Okay, so they're still not fixed. There's a few other things that may be causing this. Okay. There is a auto width as well. In fact, there's a lot of margin stuff happening here. Let's see what's going on there. I don't actually think we need this either. That text align center. Because I feel like, here, let's just see. Yeah, didn't think that was going to actually do anything. So still some issues here. I think it's
I was like stuck in it forever. I was trying to figure out like what it could be, or maybe like it's linked to too many things or something. I'm not really sure.
I think it's going to be this, setting your margin to 0. Let's take a look here real quick and see. Okay, so sort of. I obviously broke the style that you have there, but let's see here. So I guess here's the question. So we want the, let me save that. Okay, so is the idea that we really just want to have the image have like a stroke around it?
Yeah, pretty much. Just, or like, so that line on the bottom is pushed up a little bit, or the image is, I don't know, like expanded slightly bigger.
Cool. So here's how I would recommend that we do it. I recommend that we do it by putting a border on the image rather than the container that the image is in. Although, with that being said, I don't actually see, one second, bear with me, I'm juggling too many windows. That column actually doesn't have a border on it. So one of the things we have to figure out is where is that coming from? Because I don't feel like, I don't see a border there. So next up would be, I want to look at your style and see where's that coming from. So example column 3. Where is that border coming from? That's interesting. The image shouldn't have a border, because if I'm looking at your style sheet and looking at the example column, there are no borders on that. Where are those borders coming from? Let's see, on the div. Okay, so on all of these divs. So potentially, one of the things we want to do is we don't want every single div to have a border. Okay, I'm going to take this out for now. Now, here, actually, hang on. Let me leave that, and I'll just comment it out. Okay. And let's see. So this is going to look jarring, Nick. All of a sudden, none of your things are going to have borders around them. I'm not saying take the borders out of everything, but we don't want all the divs to have a border. Okay.
Yeah.
But what we want to do, if you want that image or any image to have a nice border around it, just make a class, maybe call it border. Oh, I knew I spelled that wrong. And now we can use that wherever we want it. That could include on whatever div you want to have a border, or any image that you want to have a border as well. Okay. So if I were to go into page 3 now, I could find this this particular image, and I could give this image a class of border. And now just that image will have a border, and it will be super tight right on it, because it's not the container that it's in that's holding has the border, it's the image itself. And so all images, even if they're different sizes from each other, that border will be perfectly sized to them. And again, you can actually use that class on divs as well. So if you wanted, let's say, like the locations div over here to have a border, you can add that there. And now if we refresh this, so let's see, save that. I might not, so let's see, we're on page 3. I put that on, let me make sure that it already has a class. How did I put that? Now I'm losing my my marbles, Nick, bear with me. Where the hell did I just put that? Text container. Okay, well, I'll put on this text container as an example. I just wanted you to see at least one of their, oh, there it is, button container is where I put one of them. I would think. It's interesting that it didn't show up. I want to just see, oh, here's why that didn't show up. We can't have the double classes like that. It has to happen inside the same class. So inside of these classes. So you would just say border. So now these are 2 different classes. Border. There we go. So we can add a border to any elements that we might want to, just by adding that border class now. And that's what I would do to the individual images.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, let's see here. All right, look at that. We are going to get all these in time. Jacob, let's give yours a look here next. Okay, this is a small folder here, Jacob, so there might not be much in here. Let's see.
I also I did all of them.
Okay, yeah, no worries. No images though at this point, huh, Jacob?
There's images.
There might be on your computer, but there's not going to be on mine. The reason for that is there's no image folder inside the folder that you turned into me.
There should be.
Give that a look on your computer. If there is, you can just go ahead and rezip it and send it over my way. But
Yeah, you know, I probably just didn't include that
Yeah, no worries.
with
Go
it.
ahead and,
Yeah, let
I'll
me
let you
just
reset that up.
quickly redo that.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Go ahead and do that, and I'll take a moment and
Okay.
download.
Hopefully that should do it.
Cool. I'll go ahead and remove the old one and
Is it not showing up?
not yet, but let me do a refreshing page and see. Nope, not yet.
You know, I think it might have replaced it.
Oh, shoot. I go ahead and re-upload it one more time. I deleted the old one just so there wasn't
Okay.
an issue there.
There we go. Okay, should be there now.
Cool. Let me do a refresh. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I can tell now that there's the file, the folder size is much bigger. I knew there was an issue because the folder size before was like 4K. All right, cool. Let's give this a look.
Yeah, the font that I chose isn't showing up.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll have to, like you said, go on.
Yeah, like we talked
choose a
about
new
via email, so that's not an issue. So a few things I would recommend either. If you
Yeah,
get-
I haven't
either of the-
styled everything yet.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be difficult to give you a decent critique if it's not styled at this point, because I think a lot of things I'm gonna mention are probably just not done at this point. But either center the image, or if you can, find a slightly larger image that fills the entire width of the wrapper.
Yeah, my plan it was I constrained the image. I put a width into the style of 960 pixels, so I'm going to center it.
Okay, cool. Probably shrink down the size of the links, or maybe add some additional space in between them.
Yeah.
Just they're very cramped right now at this point. And we've got the space out here. So if we just distribute them a little bit wider from each other, I think that will alleviate that issue. That's some done looking stuff right there. Let's see.
Yeah, all of that stuff will be centered and
Okay, cool. I mean, I like the images that you have in place here for sure.
yeah, this is the one problem that I was having when I was doing these two column rows.
Mhm.
When I was putting my text in, the line didn't break. It just continued on into the second box.
Gotcha. Okay, let's take a look at that. So that's what, page 5. Let's see. Okay. All right, so cool. So we've got some information. It's set up inside of a div called column 1. Got another div that is called column 2. Okay. Cool. So, okay. A few things. So when we are defining a width on an image in HTML, we don't use the PX. We only use PX within styles. Let's see. Now, in terms of the information, let's take a look at your style. I'm going to look at how container 1, column 1, and column 2 are set up, and that should provide some answers for us. Let's see. Container 1, column 1, column 2. Okay. Cool. So container 1 is flexed. Good. So column 1 and 2, of course, will be flexed then as well. So So, I mean, one of the issues possibly could be that it's having an issue with this Microsoft font that we had discussed before. Realistically, on the containers, you won't really need the font family. It really is just going to be in the individual columns. But even still, let's take out the font family. The width on these is defined here, and it is defined correctly. So that is good to see. Let's
I
see.
mean, I might see what the problem is. The box in the HTML was defined as 460, but this is 480.
Gotcha. So let's see here. Well, that's the width of the actual image.
Oh, okay.
But let's see. Let's give this a quick save. Give it a look. I'm not saying it's going to be fixed yet, but I want to at least get an idea of do those changes make a difference at all. Yeah, it's still breaking out here. So next we're going to take a look at, because the width of the two containers should be 480 and 480, which should add up to 960. Let's just take a look real quick and see if the wrapper is set up for 960. Okay, so the wrapper is actually wider than 960.
Oh, okay, that's why it's going outside.
Tweak that real quick.
But the only reason I had it as 1080 was because I wanted my nav to be 1080.
Gotcha. Okay, so in that case, we'll take a look at the nav in just a moment. Let's see here what we've got with that. So this is actually still pushing out. So there's still an issue. Now, if you want the nav to be wider than the wrapper, it's a pretty easy thing to do. We just take the nav out of the wrapper. I'll do this on your homepage. I mean, I can do it here as well, actually. But if you take your nav and then potentially the header as well, or do you want just the nav to be, is it just the nav you want to stick out and not the header?
So in this one isn't the best example because I didn't actually constrain the image to 960. The image in this one is 1080.
Okay.
But the it's showing up different on your computer, I think.
Because the reason why it's doing that, Jacob, I changed in your style. I changed your wrapper to 960.
Okay. All right.
So,
yeah, that makes more sense.
So what I guess the question is that I've got for you is when we're looking at this, so I know what to tweak for you. Do you want just the nav?
No, I want the logo and the nav to be both.
Okay, so it's a fairly straightforward thing in that we just take the header and the nav and we take them and put them outside the wrapper. So they come before your wrapper.
Okay.
What we need to do then is go into your style and tell the nav and the header now to have a width because the wrapper was the thing that was giving them a width before, but now we want that width to be bigger. So I think you said what, 1060?
1080.
1080, okay, cool. So we do that. We then change the nav also to have a width of 1080. And now just those elements will be wider. Now, we do have to center those elements now as well, okay? But clearly, I mean, you know how to do that. You've got the wrapper centered. You would just set the margin on those to be auto.
Yeah.
So that's how you would make that happen. Now, in terms of the text that's sticking out on those, I will give that a look. We've only got like literally classes wrapping up right now. So I'm going to give that a look here in a few moments, Jacob. And so I've got Jose and Jacob, both of you have got some small issues that I'll make either a video of for each of those, or if it's quick enough, I'll just send you guys an email. But in the meantime, Jacob, no worries. It's going to be a small thing, whatever it is that's causing that issue to, you know, for these things to pop out the side. I'll figure it out. I'll get back to you. Likely there's an issue somewhere. Probably some things that are dealing with some hard widths and heights that may have been set. So, but in the meantime, guys, between now and next week, you've got a pretty straightforward mission here, and that is you're working now to put small tweaks on your website based on what I talked about today. Definitely take a look at some of the information on the forums that I posted into the class. So there's the resource area here. There's a number of resources here that I recommend that you look at. And again, if you do want to embed video or a Google map, there are video tutorials on how to do that. Super easy to do those things. As always, if you need anything, touch base with me. But next week will be our last week of looking at things and making recommendations. I'm going to keep next week very wide open in terms of being able to answer questions for you guys. But really next week is our last week where we're working together. That the week after that, which would be what? Let me pull up the calendar. The week after that of the December 14th, that's when the final website is due. Keep in mind, please, that it is due at the very beginning of class. We're going to look at those and present them, and then things wrap up. So just keep me posted. If you guys have questions or anything gets you stuck, obviously, as you've done before, just zip up your RIT folder and send it over. For any complex issues, I'll make a video and send it on back to you. Or if it's a small thing, I'll comment out your code and resend you back your RIT folder. But that's it for class today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and end the meeting, and I will post this video to YouTube here shortly. So really nice work, guys. For a lot of you, it's going to be a really straightforward wind down over the next week, 2 weeks. But I do believe that you're all in good shape. I don't see any that I completely panic over. So just keep working hard and reach out if you guys need anything. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, thanks. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.